Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock, Drogheda. I'm Nick Park, and today I want to bring a short word about cancel culture. We hear quite a lot about cancel culture nowadays. Cancel culture is where we publicly reject, boycott, or withdraw support for people or groups because of unacceptable social or moral views or actions. So, for example, it might be because a celebrity had a tweet years ago that said something offensive, and suddenly they find themselves removed from the TV programme that they present. Or a sportsman, a member of the England cricket team, was removed and dropped from the team because of a tweet that he had made when he was 15 years old. And sometimes it's because even of Christian views, that because somebody expresses a biblical viewpoint that runs counter to society's narrative or view of morality, then sometimes that can lead to the Christian getting cancelled. And it's not unusual today to hear Christians speaking very loudly and even angrily about cancel culture and how dreadful it is. Now, we should remember as Christians that we practically invented cancel culture, because Christians were doing cancel culture before anyone else was. I remember as a new believer, I remember I was amazed at how suddenly I was told I wasn't allowed to buy a particular soap powder because the logo showed the man in the moon, and it meant that this company was really owned by Satanists, and so no true Christian should use that soap powder. I mean, that was cancel culture long before we had even heard of the term. And even today I see Christians, and they'll angrily say on social media they're not going to buy coffee at Starbucks anymore because of something that the Starbucks CEO once said, which it usually turns out to be false anyway, or they're not going to watch anything by Disney anymore, or whatever else. And then in the next breath they're complaining about cancel culture, even though they themselves are practicing cancel culture. Now, of course it's not right that somebody should be discriminated against and their careers destroyed, particularly if they've not done anything wrong. If they've just expressed a Christian viewpoint, we should have the right to hold biblical viewpoints and to express them as we wish. However, sometimes cancelling is the right thing to do. If you have a presenter of a children's TV show, for example, and you then discover that they've expressed views publicly that would support paedophilia, then it's quite right that they should be cancelled. We should say we don't want that person to be presenting a children's TV show whenever they have such a morally abhorrent view and are prepared to express it. However, when we look at cancel culture, it actually shows us some basic things about human hearts that should encourage us. Because cancel culture says, first of all, people still believe in sin. There are those who for many years have tried to push a narrative that there's no such thing as sin and righteousness, that there's no absolute truth, that everything is relative. But the very fact that people get outraged over certain things shows that they do believe there are things that are so sinful and so dreadful that we shouldn't put up with it in society. Now, they may sometimes get that wrong, but I want to tell you, even if people have a wrong idea about what is sinful or not sinful, that's better than not believing that anything is sinful at all. So the very fact that people believe in sin is an opportunity for us as Christians to address the issue of sin when we talk to them. The second good thing about cancel culture is it shows that people actually want sin to be removed. They don't think they don't think sin is acceptable. Not only do they believe in sin, but they think sin should be removed from our society. Well, that's great news for us as Christians, because we are sharing the good news of the one person who can remove sin, and that's Jesus Christ. Now, I think the third thing about cancel culture, which is where the world gets it wrong is they can't separate the sin from the sinner. That if somebody does sin, if somebody does think something unacceptable or say something unacceptable, they turn against the person themselves. Whereas, of course, the Bible says something very different. It says that we may have sinned, but you can love the sinner but hate the sin. And we thank God that the greatest cancel culture of all is that Jesus took our sin, carried it to the cross, and he cancelled all of our sin, all of our shame, everything that would keep us away from God and separate us from God. Jesus cancelled it all on the cross. The fact that cancel culture exists is a pain sometimes, but it does present opportunities to share the gospel, and it gives us the opportunity to say that Jesus has cancelled it all if we will put our faith in him. God bless you today. Join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.